And now Iran is the big bug, is the target. You know, Iran with the GDP the size of Connecticut. Iran has never invaded anyone in 250 years, but it's been invaded by Saddam Hussein, who was then our anti-communist enemy, and we equipped them and gave them intelligence and satellite information and told them to go into Iran because you can slice off southwest part of Iran. Easy pickings. 500,000 Iranians died. Think they forget that? We shot down their civilian airliner. They forget that? We overthrew their popular elected prime minister in 1953, who was going to restore Iranian sovereignty over their only resource, oil, and replaced him with 27 years of the dictator Shah. You think they forget that? What is this? Just more beating the drums in order to feed the giant war machine of the military-industrial complex? To take more of your tax dollars into more aircraft carriers and more destroyers and more submarines when we now have enough TNT equivalent to blow up the world 300 times and make the rubble bounce? And guess why things aren't being repaired back home? Like schools, clinics, libraries, drinking water system upgrades, sewage treatment system, bridges, highways, public transit, public buildings, prisons, courtrooms. Why do you think they are crumbling? Why do you think the American Society of Civil Engineers said we are in arrears on deferred maintenance in our country for the public works of $1.7 trillion? Because it's going into the military machine of the Lockheed Martins and the Boeings and the General Dynamics, for which nothing is ever enough. No military aggregate juggernaut is ever enough for their insatiable profiteering. And we let them get away with it? Hey, where's our self-respect? Where's our self-respect? Can you name me one corporation in this country that has a vote? They have power. They have money. They have a vote. We're the ones who have the vote. What are we doing with it? Are we baying at the moon? What's the Nation magazine? What's in these times? What's Progressive? They got all these wonderful articles, all these wonderful editorials. Have you ever seen them in the last 6 months mention the Nader Gonzalez ticket in anything other than a sneering way? What are they doing? Just banging at the moon? What are they doing with their lives? They just want to flush their indignation outward and have it dissipate? If it doesn't cross into the electoral arena, if we don't give the American voters real choices and voices and accomplishment and determination and perseverance and authenticity and honesty, what good are all their investigations and all their reports and all their editorials? Have you seen Bill Moyers mention the Nader Gonzalez campaign on his program, even when he interviews Bill Grider? Have you seen Jim Hightower write anything about it on his radio program or in his Hightower Lowdown? No. Have you seen Bob Kuttner, who talks about the unraveling of America, mention our campaign when he is interviewed? The progressive intelligentsia, or the liberal intelligentsia, is doomed to perpetual failure because they so dislike the Republican version of American politics that they are willing to go with something a little lighter, namely the Democratic version of American politics. And so they put a little ring in their nose and they give the least worst Democratic candidates the tether. Here, take it. I'm yours. They don't even tremor their little finger. In fact, he's raised more money from corporate interests and corporate attorneys by far than John McCain. Why do you think they're investing in him? He's an African American. He's a community organizer in Chicago. He's supposed to be representing the underclass. What is it if he becomes president? Should we say, wonderful, just because it's an unprecedented career move? Or do you want it to mean something for these 100 million people? What are we looking for here? We're looking for a champion of the underclass. We're looking for someone who can challenge the white power structure that totally dominates these corporations, including the ones that end up with redlining and predatory lending and payday loan rackets. All these storefronts that are just the final fingernails of their financial tentacles. What are we looking for here in Barack Obama? We're looking for someone who is not going to censor himself. We're looking for somebody who's going to effect change. He keeps saying change, change, change. Oh, who's he going to change? He doesn't tell us the drug industry is going to change and stop gouging. He doesn't tell us the oil companies are going to change because of what he's doing and stop gouging you. He's not going to change the credit card industry, which getting rid of usury laws now is a rapacious interest gouger, not to mention the fine print in those one-sided contracts with penalties and overcharges and trapdoors and even charging out for quitting them, some of them. They control your money. They just debit you. You don't have to write them a check. They're like the banks. You bounce a check, it costs them $1.50 according to the Federal Reserve, including check fraud. They hit you for $30. You don't have to write a check. They just debit your account. That's all. They control your money. If you start complaining, they say, "Are you worried about your credit score? Do you want to impair your credit rating? What do you think is going to go into your credit file?" These are the albatrosses around the necks of American consumers. We're not going to give Barack Obama a free ride just because he's African American. We've been giving the black congressional caucus, the liberals, a free ride. I remember back in the 50s when we were in the civil rights movement, I was challenging these totally nefarious psychological theories that blacks were innately inferior, taking off weeks from my law school classes in order to get these pseudo-psychologists rebutted. And this is the time of Orville Faubus and standing in the courtroom door and so on in Arkansas. And we'd sit around and say, someday when these civil rights laws are passed, we get a minority president, we get an African American president, in those days called Negro president. Wow, things can change. So what happens? Some of the most powerful committees in the House of Representatives are chaired by African Americans. John Conyers, a friend of mine, wonderful personality. He obeyed Nancy Pelosi when he took chair in January 2007. He did not initiate impeachment proceedings. He didn't initiate impeachment hearings. He didn't initiate impeachment anything. It's called the I word in Washington these days. It's a taboo. He had one day, finally, after enormous pressure on him by some professors of law, and former mayor of Salt Lake City, Rocky Anderson, he had one day of hearing as to whether there were constitutional crimes committed. It wasn't serious. Charlie Rangel, head of the House Ways and Means Committee. You think all those corporate tax writing firms, those loophole experts, are afraid of Charlie Rangel? What's going on here? Here's what's going on. It's us. We're letting it happen.